Hello, we are back. So, we left off on Saturday where we had managed to make some HTTP requests to various things that weren't GitHub, and those worked. And right at the end of the session, we tried to make a request to GitHub, and it went boom. And it wasn't entirely clear what the issue was. I went and had a look after the fact, and figured out that it was a parsing problem. It was a little subtle, and I hadn't thought about that being... I hadn't anticipated that particular issue. So we're going to pick up there, talk about the parsing issues, try to finish up the parsing, and then I think we should be able to display the repos that we get from GitHub. But I'd like to do something to improve the error handling. I think the error handling is currently mostly non-existent. And it would be nice to do something to make that better. So that'll be one of the things today. Then, depending on timing, etc., might get into also trying to do checkbox component for the display, because we'll need to do that. And then once we have that, then we're really going to have to deal with authentication back to GitHub and being able to actually archive a repository. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. So let's head over here. So we had... So this is the component repository list that was going to display the list of repositories for a specified organization. And the organization is coming in the repository list props, which is being a reference that's being passed in here as an argument to the repository _list function. And so that's where we say, here's the organization we want to deal with. One of the error handling things that we may want to try to deal with today is what to do if that fails. Right now, all the code kind of assumes that the request to GitHub succeeds, which if this organization isn't a valid organization or it's a private organization, I mean, there's various ways it could fail. And we don't have any error handling to speak of, so we got to fix that. So we get the organization comes in as an element of the properties list structure. We have state in this component, which is essentially the vector of repositories. It's initially empty. We'll update it in the use effect with deps. So all of this gets run when the component gets created, and that is the code that goes and actually makes the request and populates with the list of repositories. We'll look at that in a second. And this is where we actually display the list of repositories once it is generated. And actually, I don't need this anymore. Let's make that go away so that everything fits on the page better. Okay, so let's walk through this part, and then we'll try to improve some of the parsing issues, get the display to something at least kind of plausible, and then we'll worry about the error handling. Whoop. So this whole block is necessary because, why is this block necessary? I used to know the answer to this question. It is... Why is that block necessary? I think it's really just so that we get this clone here and get to use the same name. Is that really all that's going on there? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm gonna make a note to myself to look that up. Make sure I understand why we need an inner block in repository list. Because I'm not sure I can answer that question very well, and I'd like to better understand that. Well, we won't worry about it now. So we clone the state and use effect with deps. This is basically some code that will get run when the component gets created. So we can use this to do initialization actions on the for the component, which in this case is running off and getting the list of repositories. So then we clone this again. The move is going to pull this in, and we clone. Why do we have to? We clone this a lot. Seems like a lot of cloning. I'm going to actually make a note about that too. Is why do we clone repositories twice? Because I'm not sure I understand that either. I think that that's there because I copied some code from somewhere. Blah blah blah. And as a colleague of mine says, copy and paste is the death of understanding. And I think this is more copy and paste and less understanding than I would probably like. So I should do some homework there. But again, we're not going to worry about it right now. So we spawn. So this is basically spawning a future. We would, if we were doing a backend thing, we'd perhaps make a thread here, but this is happening in the browser. So we're spawning a future that runs in the JavaScript interpretation loop. And that's going to do this stuff. And that's the most important thing here, is that block. That I'm going to actually... Oh yeah, we're still kind of hard-coded into a single org. So that's a thing that needs to be fixed as well. And this is indented weirdly. Let's do that better. That makes me happier. So we're building the URL string here, and actually I saw this in an example, or something like this in an example, and I don't think I realized that format allowed for named elements like this. That was very cool. I was like, whoa, go team. I like that, especially if you've got in this case, it's a simple URL with only one missing component, but if you had multiple elements of the string you were filling in, if you could name those, it would make for much more readable code. So that was kind of nifty. So the GitHub API, so if you go over to trunk.toml, is api.github.com/orgs, and by setting this up as a proxy in trunk.toml, if we start anything with orgs like this, that's going to get proxied over to https://api.github.com orgs, and then whatever came after orgs. So we'll put in this case, this. We actually want to be using the org that's in the props, We'll come back to that in a second, probably pretty quickly. And then we'll slash repos, and that is the GitHub endpoint for getting all the repos in an organization. And one thing I hadn't thought about, I may at some point want to do some kind of pagination, but for the moment, I'm not going to worry about it. And then I'm printing that out to the JavaScript, to the web console, just as a debugging aid. Then we make the request, we send it, we await the result, and we unwrap. And this unwrap is one of the error handling problems. Like right now, we just assume that it works, and we don't cope well if it fails. And if that fails, it could be, it's most likely because the organization that we've provided isn't valid, and we need to let the user know that, hey, this organization didn't work, so that they can fix it if they had a typo or whatever. So we really need to do something other than just call unwrap there. Ignore for the moment this green comment. I'll come back to that. Here we're going to take the response. We're going to parse it as JSON, and through some magic of, well, it's not really magic, but some fairly cool and subtle Rust, it knows what to parse to because it knows what type we're asking for. So it knows we want to parse this response as a vector of repositories. So it's going to expect an array of repository objects, and we'll need to look at my repository struct in a sec. And if it isn't, if it can't be parsed as a valid array of repositories, vec of repositories, then it will fail. And that's another problem right here, is at the moment we're just assuming that's going to succeed. If it fails, it's probably on us and not on the user. But we still probably need to do something about that. And I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like. And then at the moment, oh, this is like totally, this should be repos. It logs out what we got back, and then we set, so that's just logging, don't really care. Here we do something useful. We set the state repositories to be repos underscore result, and that's cool. And that's then read down here, where we get the state, which should be the list of repositories, initially empty, later on hopefully with lots of stuff in it. We'll iterate over it. For each of, we'll map across those, where for each repository we're going to make a little bit of HTML. We'll collect all of that into a bigger piece of HTML, and that's what this component will return as its HTML, because there's no semicolon at the end here, so this is what this will return. So let's actually see if this still works after I've made various changes, and then we'll doodly 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 doo. Yeah, some unused things because we're not using them. We'll have to fix that. So at the moment we're ignoring whatever I type in here. Whoops. Well, actually I wanted to confirm. Yeah, so this copied, compiled. Also, we can look here at the proxying, and we see, for example, that anything that starts with the /orgs will get mapped to apigithub.com/orgs. So that's all good. And then if we hit, yay! So there's a bit of a pause, and I'm not sure mean, this is a very long list. Well, it's not that long. I'm not sure if that's in the parsing or the simple act of accessing from GitHub, and whether we want to have some kind of spinner there or some like, hey, we're loading, or not. But it did do a thing. So these are, let's see, I think that's here. Yeah, so this is software design class from 2020, and these are all the repositories in that organization, and you can see there's a fair bit of them, and we really ought to archive these. But doing that by hand would be not fun, and so this is why we're building the tool. Yeah, so lab 0, intro to get everyone, lab 1, lab 1, lab 1, lab 1, lab 2. So I guess it's probably, oh, actually it didn't do all of them. It must be doing some kind of pagination, because we only got through lab 3, and there are 4 labs plus 3 iterations. So there's a bunch of repositories that we're not seeing. So there's got to be some kind of pagination going on, and I'm going to have to deal with that. Well, happy day. So let's look at what we've got. So, and just as so how I'm displaying things at the moment, which isn't great. There's nothing beautiful happening here, and we'll need to do better. But for now, this will work. A div, I've got an H2 that has the name of the repository and then the ID in parentheses. There's a pair of parentheses here. And then under that header, there's a paragraph which is in green, which is the description of the repository. Now, actually, if we get rid of the S20, we'll see actually a problem that came up. We compiling? Yes. Compiling slowly. And now, so right here, this repo has a null description. So if you look at the raw JSON that you get back, I think I have that in a tab. Oh no, I've got this, but I can change it easily enough. Oops, boom. And which production template S17 production, there we go, and its description is null. So we get null back from GitHub, and then we get null here. This is a problem because if we have our repository object, if it has a description field that is of type string, this actually fails to parse. And this was why things didn't work last week. Or on Saturday. I didn't realize that there were some repositories with null descriptions. I kind of assumed they all had descriptions. I was wrong. And if a repository's got a null description, then if your repository struct has description as type string, there is no null in Rust, so it gets this null and says, I can't make a string out of this, and the parse fails. and it doesn't fail with great error messages. Like, I would have maybe thought you could have gotten some information about where in the file it failed and what it didn't tell you a lot. And so it wasn't obvious to me what was going on at first, and I had to do a little digging. And the way I dealt with it actually is worth saying something about. That's what this line is left over from. So Saturday JSON, we import this right here, line 4. Saturday JSON, where'd you go? There we are. Is just an arbitrary JSON thing. And so you can tell Saturday to parse not to some specific type structure that you've defined, but to just a generic value. And you'll get things like capital S string, open paren, and then the actual string. And so there's clearly some kind of enumeration of the different types of values that JSON can have. And it's hard to like manipulate that because it's just this sort of raw JSON object you can't access with keys. And yes, you're right. Option is the solution to the problem. I just had been thrown because I hadn't anticipated that there would be a null description. And so, and like I said, the error was not super clear to me what was going on. And so I found parsing to a value so I could see what was happening helped a little. And at the moment, and so the rub, when I did this, I just printed out the value. I couldn't do repository set because I didn't have repository objects. So there was a lot I couldn't do with that, but I was able to dig around and figure out what the problem was. And so what I ended up doing as a way of dealing with this, which we need to undo some, is if you look at my repository object, I actually commented out all 3 of the named fields and instead just shoved everything in this hash map. So someone last week, and I don't remember who, I apologize, one of you awesome people last week on Saturday pointed out that there was this ability to do Saturday flatten that would handle you could use as sort of a catch-all bucket for anything that you didn't actually list here. So first thing I didn't know when we started Saturday is that you don't have to list all the fields. You can list just the fields you care about, and Saturday will parse those fields into your struct and ignore anything you don't say anything about. But you can also do this, and it will catch all the other stuff and stick it in a hash map for you of keys to values. And this is, again, a Saturday value because you're not specifying a type, a Rust type for that. And so just as a way of getting things to work, I went ahead and commented all of this out, and we'll do option, just like you said, in a second to fix this, but I was just trying to figure out what was actually happening. So I put everything in the extras, and that's where we are right now, and that's why we have this rather unwieldy mess here. Instead of just being able to say repository.name, which would be your goal, because name's not a field in the struct, I have to go to the extras field, which is a hash map, and get the name, the entry with the name key, and then unwrap that and you need the unwrap because there might not be something with that key, and so that's kind of gross as well. And then so we format that, and then we do the same thing with the ID. I don't have to clone the ID because the ID is a number, and so I don't have to make a copy of it. And then again, I have to get the description, unwrap, and clone down here. So if we do this, we can do better, because we can actually make some of these proper fields so that we don't have to mess with doing the whole hash map thing. So let's do that. Now I'm pretty certain that every repository has to have an ID and a name. Like, that makes sense to me, that internally every repository is going to have an ID, and I don't think GitHub lets you create a repository that doesn't have a name. So I think we can count on both of those fields being there. And so if we do that, then we can replace this with .name and get rid of the unwrap, and replace this with .id and get rid of the unwrap. Boom. Now that, I think, should still work. Do we compile? Yay, we compile, and it works. Yay! So we get our repository name and our ID, and in this case we still have the null description, so we want to deal with that. Come back to the code. So we want description not to be a string like I did before, but we want it to be option string. And now it will parse correctly, and we can, but we're going to get an option. So we'll get a some or a none. And so we're going to have to deal with that down here. So we don't need extras. We need just .description. And we don't need, well, let's see. No, because if we say unwrap and we have the none variant, it's going to blow up. So we do have to actually, we're going to have some kind of test here. So if let some description equals repository.description, then boom. No. I want all of you to go over there. There we go. So if there is a description, then we can actually just say description.clone here, because we'll be referring to that guy right there. And so that's gonna, the if will succeed if this is of the sum variant, and then we'll display that, and then we could, if we wanted to, have an else that blue 300, and here we want to have there was no description for this repository. La 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 la. And do we rebuild? Whoa, no, hello. Oh, so I need to ampersand that puppy. And now can I say why I need to ampersand that? I assume that without the ampersand, there'd be some kind of effort to take ownership. What's the error actually say? Oh, it's behind a shared reference. And we would be taking ownership here. And so we need the reference. Okay, fine. So that worked now. Blah, blah, blah. Pew. And lo and behold, there was no description for this repository, and all the others are green. Yay! So that's actually very nifty. We did a thing. And that's fundamentally why I was having the parsing error at the end of Saturday's Go. Is there were these repositories that didn't have a description, and I was assuming here's another one that didn't have the description, and I was assuming that they would, and they didn't. Now, just for fun, if we go back, and we need to make this actually pay attention to the properties. Come on, there we go. You can do it. And at least on the first page, all of these have descriptions, and it looks like because everything in that organization was created by GitHub Classroom, it looks like GitHub Classroom actually adds a description automatically when it creates the repository. So I'm guessing that all of these will have descriptions. Still, we want to be careful since it's obviously not guaranteed on the GitHub end that you can have a null, or that you have a description, a non-null description. But looks like this will be a thing. So that's awesome. Let me actually commit some stuff because I think we've fixed a few things. So we did that. I made some to-dos, cleaned up some stuff. Oh, I guess we haven't actually looked at the fact that there is all this JavaScript console. It is printing out a whole bunch of stuff. So this is the request URL, and then this is the actual array of repositories that we're getting back after the parsing with all of the information. And it was printing something like this that was a JSON value, JSON value that sort of clarified what was happening to me. So that was a useful debugging thing. I think I'm going to remove this because this is a huge pile of ugly output that isn't really helping anybody. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that. And then get rid of that, and we tidied this up. Okay, so that all looks reasonable to me. Weird. Okay. Switch to named repository components. Oops. This changes from using the Saturday flatten hash map to using named components in the repository struct. We had to use option string for the description field because not all repositories have a non-null description. Boom. Okay. Awesome. I'll also say we updated the HTML to only display the description if there is one, and to display, wow, cannot spell, message saying there was no description if the description was null. Boom. Okay. And back to the code. So let's actually do something with the props so that we actually refer to the organization being passed in. Because at the moment we're not doing that. We're just ignoring this, and I think that's silly. So we should do that. So we should say let repository list props organization equal props. Boom. So now we should have the organization, which we're not using, but we're going to use it right here. Organization. And now it doesn't like that. Why is it unhappy? Oh, it needs to satisfy a static lifetime requirement. Oh, interesting. Because it's being moved into here, and this happens in the future, hence the name, this might have been dropped before it gets around to using this value, and so that doesn't work. Interesting. Now the suggestion here is it needs to satisfy a static lifetime requirement, because I guess we have no idea when that future could resolve, so we have no way of saying that it can have a more limited lifespan. Now I wonder, a lifetime, I wonder if we clone let organization equals organization.clone. If we clone in here, does that make anything better? No. Oh, weird. This still is fussing though. I wouldn't have thought. So on line 136, it has to live as long as static, because it's being moved in. Oh, so this actually, even just this, forces us to, so does it, or let organization equals organization.clone. Oops, Is that why there's all this cloning? Oh, maybe it is. So this is a cheap hack to avoid getting the lifetimes right, I think. And, oh, then we didn't need that one. That's interesting. Looks like we don't need that one. Do we build? It looks like we do. Okay. So cloning here in this block, this is going to have a lifetime that matches this scope, and somehow, I don't claim to really understand why, somehow that makes everything good. Yeah, why does that make anything better? Oh, you bet. I'm not entirely sure that I can explain why that makes things better. Ditto for organization. Yeah, so organization gets moved, its ownership gets moved into here. But I guess the thing I don't think I understand is why, like, if all we had was, if we clone that, and we get rid of this, that is happy? Oh, interesting. I thought I'd done that and that hadn't been enough. But apparently I was wrong? Oh, looks like it. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, so we need to clone this at least once, because this is a string and not a stir slice, and we probably need to fix that to be a stir slice. It's on my to-do list to do something about. So we don't have to do all this cloning, because this cloning is just clearly not great. But because this is a reference to a string here, then any use of organization down below is referring into the props object, and we don't know that the props object is going to last long enough. Actually, we don't know that it will. The compiler and we do not know that the props object will survive long enough to still be a valid pointer when we need it. Whereas if we clone it, then that clone, it's an actual string now, and its ownership can move into the use effect with deps here, and then again into the spawn local here. And so when this code gets run, it knows it owns that organization value, and everything's going to be okay. So that's why that's why cloning helps. There are other ways we could presumably fix the problem, but that does take care of that. It also makes me wonder, do we need all of these clones here? Do we just need one of them? What if I take this one out? That looks like that works. At least it compiles. Oh, I think we're actually using the organization now, so I have to put something useful in. UMM CSI 3601. You gonna work? Oh, yeah, that's another thing. I think that if you panic, I think your app is dead, which makes sense. But yeah, if you panic, I think your app is dead. It doesn't look dead necessarily, but I think your app is totally toast. So that's another reason we're going to have to do better about the error handling, because if you panic anywhere, so if you unwrap something that doesn't work, boom, your app is dead, and the user doesn't know that your app is dead. So that worked. Yay! So apparently I only needed to clone repositories once. So I'm going to delete that guy. And now... Oh, I guess we should confirm that... Finish building, you can finish building. We should confirm that we can put in different organizations and that we will get different lists of repositories. Oh, no, we don't. So I think that I've gotten burned here by copying and pasting when I didn't understand exactly what was going on. So I think I use this because it was in an example, but I think that only happens once now that I think about it. And so if we change the state with the organization, actually we're changing, it's not the state, it's actually the organization is being sent in when we create the component, and we don't have a way. Let me think. So this creates the component. This doesn't do anything when we set the string. So actually, I'm going to go back here. Yeah, when we change this, it changed this. So that means that this is being re-rendered, but this is not, nothing's happening here. Nothing's changing. Let me actually, after having removed my console, grab an example. Oops, up, we want to go up. We'll actually doodly doodly doo, boop boop boop. So I want console repository list called with organization blurp blurp boom, and I want organization. Oops, I need a semicolon at the end of that. You're gonna compile. Go, little team. Here we go. And okay. UMM. Okay. So repository list was called with that organization. Called twice? Why twice? That doesn't make sense to me. S20. So it was called with S20. Now called with S22. But that use effect with depths, that's only happening once. So somehow this isn't happening a second time. There's something about this that only happens once. I will have to do some homework. I'll make a note. Why does use effect with depths only execute once? And actually, I'm gonna put a note, put a thing in here. Boom. Use effect with depths called with that organization. And actually, we're going to put one in here too, because why not? Spawn local. And so we should be able to see that. Come on. Okay, so repository list called with that, use effect depth called with that, spawn local called with that, repository list called again. I wonder if because we re-rendered this, it caused some kind of re-rendering to happen on the input field as well. Oh, that would be gross. If it didn't. Yeah, if that, because then you'd have an infinite loop of calling. That would be very unpleasant. So I definitely need to understand what's going on there better, because I don't just want to. Okay, yeah. So repository list got called, but use effect with depths did not, and spawn local did not, and that's probably really important because we don't want to have an infinite loop of making calls to GitHub. That would annoy them and not be helpful. So I'm going to have to fix that, but I'm not going to fix that right now because I don't want to get bogged down in that, and I think I have to do some reading. So I have to figure out what's going on there. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. I think I want to commit where we are because we're now using the organization correctly. Yes. Okay. So use the entered organization. This changes the repository list component so that it actually uses the organization entered by the user. Boom. Okay. La 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 la. Okay, so we got the parsing. Now so we've sort of done this. I'm not sure I'm thrilled about the way I know I'm not thrilled about how we display things. Probably don't want to spend forever on this, but right now we're displaying the ID, which isn't very helpful. Users don't care about that. We need it in the back end because if we want to archive a repository, we'll have to say the ID of the repository we want to archive. So we need it, but we certainly don't need to share it with the user. So I think we can lose this and lose this. Boom. And this is not, this H2 isn't really doing anything very useful. So I'm going to pop a 2XL here. I should probably actually go say what H2 is in some CSS somewhere, but that'll be at least a little better. What does that look like? Okay, yeah, that's definitely better. And we've got the description. It would be useful. I don't think I have that. Oh, here we go. So we're getting actually I don't want to be in organizations. I want to be in repositories. Come on, you can do it. So let's list list organization repositories. That's what we're doing. So we get a lot of stuff potentially. So the question is there something here that I might want to display? So in my case, I don't care about ownership because I'm assuming, I think it makes sense to assume that the person trying to do the archiving owns the repos or at least has permission to archive them. Although once we get, and right now we don't have any authentication sorted out, so we don't have any way of talking meaningfully about owners. But downstream we might be able to say that we want only things that the person can actually archive. Don't care about private at the moment. Whoa, oh, go away. Lots of URLs. Don't care about those. Totally don't care about those. Homepage, don't care about that. Language, don't care about that. Forks count, stargazers, watchers, size, default branch, open issues. Could imagine if a repo has open issues that you wouldn't want to archive it. Although if it's old and it hadn't been touched in a long time, the fact that it has open issues probably isn't actually interesting to anybody. But that's, and actually that's not even open issues. I think that's just that you've turned the issues feature on so that you can have issues. Now it's probably worth looking at archived because a user doesn't want to be re-archiving previously archived repositories, and that might even lead to an error. I don't really know. So I think we probably want to grab archived as a field. So archived boolean. Now, does that... Oh, actually we can... Well, let's see if this works even. If we can parse successfully. Okay. And I'm pretty sure this repository or this organization has both archived and non-archived repositories, so that at least didn't blow up. So let's let me think. if the archive has already been if the repository has already been archived, probably want the text to be maybe in a different color. I mean, eventually probably don't know if we want to like not have it visible at all, or we want to just have it visible but it won't have a checkbox next to it, or that'll be a disabled checkbox. Not entirely sure. But let's, for the moment, just be crude and say if repository dot archived, then we'll do something else. We'll do this. And I guess really this could just come up here now. P class equals text to Excel. Text red 300. And I don't really need the format here anymore, do I? Repository dot name dot clone. And that's going to be true here as well. I just need that. Doodly doodly doo, da 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 ba da bum bum. And we build, hurrah! And UMM CSI 3601, go! Haha! Yes. And these are old, the red ones are old repositories that have been archived. So that's good. That's good. We're getting stuff. Now I probably want to sort, and we can sort. How can we sort? We can sort by created, updated, pushed, or full name. Huh. Probably want to sort by updated, actually, where the things that are the oldest are at the top, because those are the things we would most want to make changes to. And we've got things here we probably want to capture. So I don't know if we want all of those pushed at, created at, updated at. I don't know if I'm not sure I know how to interpret these. Like, does updated imply, like, if I'm not saying this well, if I pushed yesterday, is that guaranteed updated is no older than yesterday? I guess created really doesn't matter, but pushed at and updated. Let's just try updated and see what we get. Now, what are we gonna be able to do here? Updated at, I don't actually, to be honest with you, have any idea. Rust date. Oh, date. Date and time. Parse string into date time struct. Huh. So I wonder if, so is date time the thing people use? I guess. Yeah. Well, let's try date time. Nothing like venturing off into the wilderness. Date time. And if this fails, we might actually... Whoa, didn't like that. So date time must be a thing I have to import. Look at that. There's a chrono that I'm going to have to use, I bet. Create chrono. Okay, well, let's do that. Dependencies. Chrono equals, and it was 0419. So let's say 0.4. And then we can use chrono date time. And now, fingers crossed, this will behave. And we did add some, yep, there's chrono. However, it didn't like that. Oh, we have to provide a time zone. Well, fascinating. Really? Well, that's interesting. Huh. So you have a date, time, date like, time like. Yeah, so we have to provide a time zone. Well, that's fascinating. And what are our options for time zones? Is there like a local offset from local so the methods here are primarily constructors for date and date time types, but I don't want the original time zone value can be recovered time zone : from offset. But then you have to pass in an offset. Rawr? Well, okay. Okay. Makes a new date time with a given UTC date time and offset. The local date time should be constructed via the time zone trait. And so they do from UTC and this naive date time from a timestamp. So what is that? What does naive date time do? So this just creates a date and a time with no awareness of things like time zones. Well, I think what I want is the local time zone, whatever that means or however I might get it. Okay. Rust day chrono get local time zone. Oh, there is a local. The local time scale. Using the time zone methods on the local struct. So we could just say local? Okay, well, let's try that. Let's see if we can just say local. Time, date, local. And it will not know what local is. Oh, come on. Let me quick fix. Import chrono local. And then let's move that up. Why is that underlined? Oh, it's just a spelling. Right. Yeah. Okay. Now this is not happy. Oh. We can't deserialize date time. Oh! Well, that's awkward. Okay. Let's try JSON. Let's see. Rust surday parse date time. Da, 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 da. Really? Custom date format. So I don't know that we have a custom date format. Oh. So they just have, they allow UTC here. But maybe that's only because they have this formatter. Ugh. Oh, I don't like it. Daytime supports Saturday out of the box, but uses that format. So I wonder if that's the problem, is that I'm saying local and it doesn't know local's not a good choice. What if we try UTC instead? Where's my thing? There we go. UTC. Oops. And it will have pulled that in and done it in an awkward way, because it always does. Note it does not like this. It claims we cannot deserialize that. But the internet says we can. Daytime supports Saturday out of the box. No, that's not what I wanted. Poop. Poop, 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 poop. Okay. Rust, Saturday, parse datetime. Somebody give me an example. That would be awesome. La 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 da 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 da. Oh. So we have to say a with something. So I don't know that I understand the with business. So what's it doing there? With TS seconds option. What is that? Saturday date time. Okay. So S is struct with time. But I don't. Add hours, minutes, seconds. I don't feel like any of these make sense. Blarg, blarg. Okay, let's try that. Date time didn't implement deserialized trait. Oh, well that's totally not helpful because I don't want to. Oh. So there isn't deserialization. But it's deserialized. That's exactly what I need. So yeah, sorry. I've been lost in my fog here. So let me show you the issue, and maybe somebody will have a clever thought because I do not have one. Okay, so GitHub, a repository has a where is that gonna be? Here? Yeah. A repository has an updated field. It's one of the things that we can get. And Saturday is going to parse that into a date time, I would hope, but I can't figure out how to make it work. So if I just say updated at, and I provide a date time here, then I get this error that deserialize is not implemented for date time. So it seems to me that it doesn't know how to parse date times, but that seems weird. So actually, one thing I'm going to try is I'm going to go back to using my extras trick, and add a piece here that says P. So I'm just going to print the value of the updated at repository.extras.get updated at, and that is the right name, right? Yes. Updated at. So we're going to get that, and we will need to unwrap it. And maybe we need to clone it. I don't know, because I'm not sure what type I'm going to get back. But we can see then what we're getting from. Okay, that compiled. That's a win. UMM CSI 3601. So we get strings. So it's not parsing those as anything more interesting than strings at the moment. But that could just be... Yeah, I think it just is treating those as strings. But I guess I could hand parse them. There's clearly tools for doing that, but you'd think that Saturday would be able to deal with that. Custom. What does this do? Okay, so this person's getting stuff. Date, time, local. We tried local before, and okay, so he's doing a custom deserializer, which I'd rather not do. You'd think that oh. Huh. Yeah. So Chrono implements serializing directly as the default format. You just need to enable the Saturday feature. Oh! No, I'm pretty sure we have that. Oh, maybe we don't. Oh, I don't. Maybe I don't have the Saturday feature on Chrono. Perhaps. So, what if we say version equals features equal Saturday? You gonna be happier if I do that? That'd be awesome. Do I need to like kick you to get you to do stuff? Oh, and actually I should. So he uses local, which is what I wanted anyway. That'll kick it to recompile. So let's go back here. Local. Do I still have local? Yeah, I do. Okay, we're recompiling. Please work. That would be awesome. It appears to compile. So was that the only thing? Oh, this is gonna fail because I still have. Yeah, I still have the get version of things down here, right here. So this needs to be just updated at. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know if it needs to be cloned or not, but fingers crossed this will work. This would work. That would be awesome. Come on. There we go. And boom. Hey, 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 look at that. It did it. That is very cool. And now we can sort by that. So saith. I'm going to close a bunch of stuff here so we don't have endless piles of tabs. Let's see. We can sort by updated. So let's do that. So now our request URL is gonna be include sort equal updated. Did I get that right? Oops. Sort equals updated. I think that's true. And so watch it compile. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so got lost a little bit in Chrono because I didn't realize I had to add the Saturday feature to the in the cargo toml file, and so Saturday wasn't parsing them correctly, and we probably wasted 10-15 minutes flailing around there, but we got there. And now I think we die. That's not good. So adding the sort broke the world. I didn't like that. Let me confirm. Can we do that here? No. It does not like that. So how does that work? What am I doing wrong? Query parameters. I would have thought it would have been Huh. Well, why is that not working? Repos. So repos works. Question mark. Sort equals. Does it need to be in quotes? I wouldn't have thought so. Oh! Apparently it did. Okie dokie. Well, that's the problem there. So we need to put that in quotes. And now it will compile if slowly and boom. No! We did not get what we wanted. Line 153 died. Yeah, so when we attempted to parse, it burfed. And it's because we get the 404. So that didn't work. Oh, and it's updated at. Yes, you're completely right. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't type or think or do stuff. And no! Still not happy. And the debugging on this, 404 still. So there's something about, oh, it's question mark, not ampersand. Curses. Oh, so actually let's check to see. Oh, it is just updated. So I think you probably weren't right. So, but it was a good idea. And maybe I have to encode the quotes, but let's hope that escaping them will do the right thing. But encoding's a good idea in case escaping doesn't work. Yes! Good job. We got there. And now it's sorted by when it was last updated, and that actually looks no, that doesn't look reasonable. Because okay, so we do need pushed. Because this has been pushed, this repo has been pushed to in the last week or two, but it was clearly not updated since last December. Well, that's annoying. Okay, so we're going to have to, I think I'm going to want to grab both of those things. So where were we? Through all the URLs and through all those things. So pushed at and updated at. Oh, and we can sort by pushed. That's interesting. So if I change this to pushed, do I get discussion and planning followed by, no, that's not right. That has been pushed to much more recently than that. That's confusing. I don't understand that. That may be my end / GitHub end. Well, let's grab the pushed at date, time, local, and display that. Oh, went too far. Format bang updated at boom ba-dum, ba-doom, 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 boom, and pushed at now. Go little computer, go little computer, go little computer, go little computer. And Seaside 3601. So pushed at about the same time that it was updated. Now this, so this was pushed at quite recently, but updated farther back in time. So if I change the sorting to be pushed instead of updated, and that was just making sure sort by pushed, we building and now boom. So I don't really understand that sort is not sorting. I don't think that's our problem. I think that either I'm calling it wrong on the GitHub end, or GitHub's notion of sorting by push is different than mine. Yeah, I'm not really sure. And I don't know that we want to spend forever on that. Let me, just for fun though, say that direction will be descending instead of ascending. And direction equals, what was it? DESC. Oh, actually I wanted ascending, didn't I? Yeah. I didn't change anything. Is this sort even doing something? Are my quotes wrong? Is the quoting a bad idea? Oh. So quoting, I think, is a bad idea. And now it's sorting the way I would have expected. So we don't want the quotes. Oh, so I bet the problem was all along was that I had an ampersand instead of a question mark here. And I did all that other flailing thinking that was relevant when it wasn't. I bet that's the problem. I think I fixed the wrong problem in the process of wandering around. And then I left that mistake behind because, you change a lot of stuff in a hurry and it doesn't always do good things. Yeah. Okay. So that was pushed most recently, and then 2022, then we get into 2021, etc., etc. Okay. Oh, and in fact, oh, that's interesting. These are already archived. But that has not been changed in a long time, and it is not archived. Okay. So then I think what we'd probably want to do is actually sort pushed and direction descending. No, ascending. We want to see the oldest repositories first, because those would be the ones we would be most likely to want to archive. Now, in this instance, that puts all these previously archived repositories at the top. So we probably don't really want to display previously archived repositories, is my guess. And if we put in, I don't think this will have anything that's been archived already. Oh no, there is one that's been archived. That's interesting. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's several. And my guess is, so seeing Joe here, I'm kind of suspicious that a particular student went through and archived things that they had been part of. So that's probably why there's a handful that are archived, is I bet that student archived all of the repos that they were part of, which is interesting. But this is sorted reasonably, like this is the first lab in the semester, so that would be the oldest update, and then lab 1, and then lab 2, lab 3, why is there just one of those? And then we get into the iterations. That's all kind of random. So, okay. Yay! I think that did that correctly. Now, this is not a very attractive display of the information. In particular, the time zones could all be stripped out because they're all 0. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. But it would be nice to perhaps filter out repositories that have been archived already. So if we do filter repository and filter takes, if we return a true, it will keep it. Repository.archive. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know that we need the time either. That's probably not helpful. In this context, we're really looking for sort of big picture information, not like fine-grained stuff. Oh, archived. Now, that will maybe just keep everybody who's archived, which would be the opposite of what I want. I think I'm going to need to negate that. I think I want things that are not archived. And yes, that gave us only the things that are archived. So I need a bang in front of that. Bang. Oh, bang. Okay. And now I think we will get only the unarchived repositories. Sorted from oldest push to, hey, that's good. Okay, so there's this one old repository that hasn't been touched in 5 years, and now everything else in this organization that isn't archived is pretty recent. And if I put in that, I don't get those archived repositories anymore. Zippity doo dah. So that's nifty. So I guess to strip, I don't know, does anybody know anything about formatting dates? I mean, I guess there are presumably formatting tools for date time, and I could use one of those to like get rid of the unnecessary parts here. I've never done that. Well, I guess no time like the present, because it doesn't look like it'd be hard. For Rust format date time. Display formatted date time. So we can set now.format. That would almost certainly be the thing that we want. So .format would be coolio. I bet that would be great. And this is not helpful from a documentation standpoint. Does that tell us? There we go. Okay. So %y, capital Y. We could do YMD, actually, would probably be totally reasonable. Capital YMD. So dot format %y dash %m dash %d, and then we'll do that for both of them, and that will make it look prettier. Do we compile? Do we compile? Yes, we compile. And boom. Very nice. Well done. Yay, team. And actually, at is a more time thing. On would be better for dates. And I think we could say last updated on and last pushed to on. And that would make that, I think, read a little better. Whee! That's pretty slick. So we are getting all the repos for us. So we're specifying the organization. We're getting all the repos. We are displaying some information about them, not in a great way. I don't really like this font setup. I need to sit down with a piece of paper and probably do some sketching about what I really want this to look like. But hey, we're displaying the repository name, a description, and when they were last updated and when they were last pushed to. We are filtering out previously archived repositories, and we're sorting by last push to. Now I wonder, can I? No, it doesn't look like I can specify here that I only want unarchived things. Looks like we'll have to get them. I think if I went to GraphQL, I might be able to say that I only want unarchived repositories, but we're not doing that today. That's on the list of things to possibly do in the future. But for now, we can grab them and filter them out. There's not ever going to be more than a few hundred probably at a time, so it's not like grabbing them and filtering them is going to have some profound impact on the performance. And it looks like we're paging anyway, and so yeah, we're defaulting to 30 per page, so already I'm only getting, and I guess here we wouldn't notice, but here, this I think is, I'm guessing that's probably less than 30 because we're pulling out a few archived repos, so we'll have to actually deal with paging at some point. Kind of annoying. I'm gonna have to make a note of that. Deal with paging from GitHub. So that's gonna have to happen. But I think we've sorted out the repository parsing problem, which mostly came down to making sure the description was option, because not all repositories have a description. And we've been able to successfully parse date times, which is cool. We've got a display of the list of repositories. It may not be brilliant, but it does work. I do feel like we probably need a loading or something, because there is definitely a bit of a delay there. So we've got a display. It may not be beautiful, but it works. And we have not gotten to error handling, and it's 6 minutes before 12, so we're not going to do that today. And we have not made our list of repositories into a checkbox list. So we got a few things still to do. Now, I should say, as we get close to wrapping up here, yeah, sorry, I'm sad. And we are going to need to wrap up because I got to go do family stuff. So, and I, after having had like a really inconsistent streaming experience for you folks, because of my knee and having to miss a lot of scheduled streams because of breaking a piece of my kneecap off. I don't recommend it. It's not a good idea. Keep your kneecap all together. It's better that way. And my knee's actually doing much better, and I can stream, and that's awesome, except now I'm going to miss the next week because family reunion in Wisconsin, and it's the first time we're getting together since COVID, and we've had actually 2 elders in the family pass away during COVID time, so this will be our first chance to get together and honor them. So it's important, and it'll be a good vacation of whatever sort. But it does mean I will not be streaming for the next week. So I will miss Saturday morning and Tuesday morning because I'll be out there doing that stuff. And then I'll be back a week. No. Yeah, I guess a week from Saturday. I'll be back a week from Saturday. And I should be able to pick up where we left off. And I will, in the meantime, try to understand this with effects depths thing, use effects with depths thing, because I clearly don't get it. And I think actually we kind of resolved this problem. Right? Yeah, I think I understand that. I think that got dealt with today. When we added the organization stuff, I think that resolved that. But the use effect with depths is still an issue that's going to have to be resolved. So, going to have to do something about the error handling, and so I think the big things coming up are we got to do something sensible about the error handling. We have to we're going to have to do authentication. That's going to be an unavoidable. We're running into where that's an unavoidable problem. So far, all of our requests to GitHub have been of the sort that don't require any authentication. But that's going to stop being true fairly soon. So that's going to have to be resolved. And then we're going to have to probably, these in the wrong order, we're going to have to like turn that list of repositories into some kind of, add some kind of checkbox component so that we can say which ones we want to archive. And then to use that information is going to require authentication. So, yeah, there's work to be done, but we're making progress. I'm actually very excited. And I feel like I kind of understand most of the rust that's going on. There were some moments of flailiness today, but not too bad. I think the biggest issue was getting lost in the date time parsing because I didn't have the Saturday feature turned on in Cargo Toml, but that's the live and learn. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and commit the work we've done today. So add, and then I'll wrap up. So add the chrono crate for the date time struct. I needed to add the Saturday feature so that it could parse these from the GitHub JSON, and that took me a while to figure out. And then, actually, I think I've still got I have some unused things. Okay, we don't use UTC anymore. So let's clean some of this stuff up. Yeah. And we're not using response or error yet, but we are going to use those, so I'm not going to bother deleting either of those. Are there any other problems that and error, and then just some spelling stuff? Don't care about that right now. Okay, so back to here. So the main thing we did was we added archived and the updated and pushed fields and we sorted by pushed. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. So add archived and modification dates to repo struct. This adds archived and let's see, updated at and pushed at fields to the repository struct. It also sorts the results from GitHub, the repository list from GitHub by when pushed with the oldest first. And yeah, that's all. Yeah, okay. And I think that's good. So thank you all very much, as always. It's been great having everybody here. And I look forward to seeing you in a week and a bit. And apologies for being gone. One thing I want to get this now. One thing I'm wondering is whether I should set up a Discord for this, so there's a way to like give people updates and notices about canceled streams and maybe even sort of unscheduled impromptu streams and stuff like that. So I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts on that. Feel free to share. It adds another thing to check in the world for all of us, and that doesn't seem awesome, but I also feel like there's no good way for me to like tell you folks when something's happening, and that's a bummer. And so if there's, I don't know, a newsletter, I'm not sure what people would find most useful. So if you have any bright ideas, think about that. We can bring that up again in a week, or you could Twitter at me. So my Twitter is at Nick McPhee, and let me know if you have any thoughts on that. Otherwise, I think we're good. I think like we got stuff to do things. I'm just gonna look at this one more time because it makes me happy. To have it do stuff. That is very cool. And lo and behold, look at all that beautiful stuff. So, zippity-doo-dah. I will let you go. I'm going to go have lunch and do some family things, packing for the trip. I will talk to you fine folks later. Ciao. Pew. Pew.